All praise to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, for allowing me to make this very video. And this video is going to be about how the Sabbath is not Friday sundown, it's Saturday sundown. And I know this topic is probably new to most people because, most people are probably stuck in their ways from keeping it that way from such a long time. Even I myself have been keeping the Sabbath from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown for quite some time now. I've been in the truth for maybe about like 6 years now, almost 7, maybe. And I just recently found that out. I just recently found out that the Sabbath is not Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. And I learned that there's a particular YouTuber with the username GMS South Carolina 08. He's a part of a GMS Hebrew Israelite camp, and I got to give props where props is due, and that's where I learned that from. I actually remember seeing a video that was talking about how keeping the Sabbath from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown is actually the worship of another god. I don't remember too much information about that, but the sole point of me making this video is to basically bring out that the Sabbath is not Friday sundown to Saturday sundown, man. It is not. And we're going to start off with Genesis 1 and 14. We're going to show everything and bring out everything through the words of the Most High, which endure forever. And it says, and Yahweh, which is the true name of the Most High, all right? And Yahweh said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. Now, I'm going to power combo this with Psalms 104. We're going to go to Psalm 104. We're going to combine these two. The Psalms 104 and 19 says, he appointed the moon for seasons. The sun knoweth his going down. So the Sabbath day in particular, all right, because this scripture says the Most High appointed the moon for seasons. In particular, the Sabbath is lunar based, man. The Sabbath is based on the moon, the changing of the moon and the cycles of the moon. And the moon is actually how the ancient Israelites, all right, our people, our ancestors, all right, because we know the Israelites today are your blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, all right. They're not an extinct bloodline of people who, can't be traced back. I done heard all types of arguments. That ain't true, all right. The Most High, God chosen people, the Hebrew Israelites today are black, Hispanics, and Native Americans. All right, our ancestors, the way that they were able to tell at what point in the month they were in, how far in the month they were in, was through the moon, man, and the moon cycles, and that's how they knew. The changing of the Sabbath, because the Sabbath changes every month. All right, it's not Friday sundown to Saturday sundown, but it does change every month, and the new moon basically showed the Israelites, like, okay, this is the new Sabbath. Now, I got an image of the cycles of the moon, all right? Now, you got the new moon all the way to our right, where it says new. That's basically when you can't see the moon at all. I forgot how the process goes, but the moon is basically being blocked off, all right? Now, you can't see the moon at all. The new moon marks the first day of the month. And the new moon is a high holy day of the Most High. And I'm gonna show that in the scriptures as well. The new moon is a high holy day of the Most High. All right, it's a Bible holiday. Fuck all these pagan ass holidays of America and Babylon the Great. Forget all that. The Most High got his own righteous biblical holidays, man. And the new moon is a high holy day of the Most High, and it's likened unto a Sabbath. It's not the Sabbath. It's not the same. It's not the same thing, but you keep it the same way. It's the same order, the same tradition. You can't buy, you can't sell, you can't cook. You can't work. No kind of servile or servitude like work or labor It's the same thing. It's not the same day. The new moon and the Sabbath are 2 different days. They're 2 different high holy days of the Most High, but they're likened unto each other. Basically, you keep them the same way. All right, no cooking, no buying, no selling, and things of that nature. Same thing on Sabbath, same thing on the new moon. And we're going to bring it all out. But as far as the new moon, we got on our right, that is the first day of the month. And basically, when the new moon comes in, whatever date that the new moon comes in, that marks the new Sabbath for that month. So if the new moon, let's say, for example, it came in, let's say, July 7th on a Wednesday with the new moon, that means that the Sabbath for that month, because remember, the new moon is the first day of the month. All right? That means that since it came in on a Wednesday, the new moon was on Wednesday, first day of the month. That means that for that month, the new Sabbath is Wednesday evening to Thursday evening. Because remember, the Sabbath, it stretches into the very next day. It stretches into the evening. All right, so you got the new moon, you got waxing crescent. So if you ever look up in the sky, all right, and you see the moon look like a crescent, and the crescent is on the right side, okay, that's the beginning of the month. The new moon, it just occurred. And it's so crazy how fucking the moon changes, because that was appointed for the seasons and the times of the year. I remember always looking up at the sky, and I would see the moon. It would be shaped just like that, just like a crescent. But I used to call it a banana, And sometimes it'll be a full moon. Sometimes I wouldn't be able to see the shit at all, and I never knew why. But through the words and through the truth of the Most High God of Israel, whose true name is Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, now I see and understand. So if you ever see the moon shaped like a crescent and on the right side, you can tell yourself, oh, okay, well, the new moon just passed. It's the beginning of the month. And then you got first quarter, then you got waxing gibbous, then you got a full moon. Now, if you ever look up in the sky, you see a full moon, you can tell yourself, okay, this half of the month. The new moon, I'm talking about like the new moon for the next month is pretty close, because you can see the full moon, and all right, it's half of the month now. And then you got waning gibbous, and then third quarter, and then waning crescent. So if you're looking up in the sky, all right, and you see that there's a crescent, but the crescent is left-sided now, you can tell yourself, all right, the new moon is close. All right, it's pretty close. You don't even need pictures. All you got to do is memorize this and just look up in the sky, which will make sense, because when the Israelites received the law, where were they? They were in the wilderness, and they didn't have a fucking calendar in the wilderness. So how did they know when the new moon was? How did they keep the Sabbath? Through the moon. They would look up at the moon. They would have watchers watch the moon, and when it appeared that the new moon was close, I'm pretty sure they would alarm the people. And that's how we knew when the Sabbath changed. Because when the new moon comes in, that marks the very first day of a new month. And that marks the Sabbath for that current month, because it changes every month. And then you got waning crescent, and then you got new moon. And once the new moon comes in, it's a new month. Now, we can go back to the scriptures. I'm going to read Amos 8 and 5 to show that the new moon, all right, and the Sabbath is likened unto each other, but it is not the same day. They're both high holy days of the Most High. They're both, the Most High's biblical holidays that he gave us, his people, but they are not the same thing. Both high holy days, but they ain't the same thing. They're just likened unto each other, which means that you keep it the same exact way. No buying, no selling, no cooking. Same Sabbath rules, the same thing as the new moon rules. All right? So this is Amos 8:5. It says, saying, when will the new moon be gone? that we may sell corn, and the Sabbath that we may set forth wheat. So we're going to pause real quick. It says, when will the new moon be gone that we may sell corn? Why does it say that? Because it's the same rules. When the new moon comes in, you keep it the same way you keep the Sabbath. It's the same rules apply. You can't sell. You can't buy. All right? You can't work. You can't cook. It's the same exact rules, but it's not the same day. And then it even compares it to the Sabbath. And it says, and the Sabbath that we may set forth wheat. Making the ephah small and the shekel great, and falsifying the balances by deceit. So you see, the new moon is likened unto a Sabbath. They're not the same day. They're two different high holy days of the Most High. But you keep them the same way. It has the same rules. All right, so I had to bring that out. So now we're going to go to the calendar. So I'm going to show y'all how to calculate the new moon on your own. All right, so let's say that the new moon, because I believe 2 Sabbaths ago, the new moon came in on May 26th. All right, so since the new moon came in on May 26th on a Monday, that means that you have to count 7 days after the new moon. And that will be the Sabbath for that month. So, okay, the new moon came in on May 26th, Monday. All right, so let's count 7 days now. The first day that you're going to start counting is at May 27th. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're at June 2nd. Now notice how it's a Monday, the same way the new moon was. So when the new moon comes in, since it was on a Monday, that means the Sabbath for that month is Monday evening to Tuesday evening. And now you're going to count 7 days again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're at June 9th. Now that's 2 weeks now. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're at June 16th. That's 3 weeks now. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 4 weeks now. We're at June 23rd. Now, once you get to the 4th week, the very next day after the 4th Sabbath of that month is the new moon. So that means that the new moon would be on June 24th. And you would keep the Sabbath the same way, since the Sabbath of that month was what? Monday evening to Tuesday evening. And then that Tuesday evening when the Sabbath ends, the Sabbath will end and you will move right into the new moon. So it will be basically like 2 Sabbaths back to back. Because remember, just like we read, the Sabbath and the new moon are 2 different days, but they're likened unto the same thing, same rules. No buying, no selling, no cooking, no labor. All the Sabbath rules are the same thing as keeping the new moon. Now we're going to do it one more time, so you can get it. So let's say the new moon came in on May 26th. You count 7 days after the new moon, and that is the Sabbath for that month. So boom, new moon came in May 26th. You start at May 27th when you start counting the 7 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're at June 2nd. Now it's always going to align with the same day. Since the new moon came in on May 26th, which is the Monday, all right, it's every, it's going to be the same day when you count. So we're at June 2nd. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Boom, that's 2 weeks. June 9th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 3. Okay, that's 3 weeks. We're at June 16th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 4 weeks right there. So that means that the next day after the fourth Sabbath of that month is the new moon. So the new moon is going to be on June 24th. And then it's going to change Tuesday evening to Wednesday evening, which it is right now. As I'm speaking, the Sabbath is Tuesday evening to Wednesday evening, because the last new moon was June 24th. So let's go back to the last new moon, which was June 24th. Right now we're at July 14th. So how do we know what's going to be the new moon for the next month? Easy. All right, let's start at June 24th, which is when the new moon came in. I'm talking about the basically the one that we're in now. Bam. So new moon came in June 24th. Remember, you're going to count 7 days after the new moon, starting at the day after it. So 1, 2, we're starting at Wednesday, June 25th, since the new moon was on the 24th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, July 1st. Now you see it's always going to align. It's Tuesday, it's a Tuesday, which means that the Sabbath is Tuesday evening to Wednesday evening. All right, so that's 1 week. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 2 weeks. We're at July 8th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Bam. That's 3 weeks. July 15th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Bam. 4 weeks. Now that means that the next new moon is going to be on July 23rd. Because remember, the new moon is the day after the 4th Sabbath of that month. Okay, so since the Sabbath is Tuesday evening and Wednesday evening, the new moon is going to be on July 23rd because that's the day after the Sabbath, the 4th Sabbath. You got to count 4 weeks in. Okay, after you count the 4 weeks, the very next day is the new moon for that month. And then, it's going to change from Wednesday evening to Thursday evening. I hope y'all keeping up. I hope this makes sense to you. I'm going to do it one more time. All right, one more time so y'all can get it. So remember, new moon came in on June 24th. All right. Count 7 days after the new moon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1. That's July 1st. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2. That's July 8th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 3. That's July 15th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 4. That's 4 weeks. The very next day is the new moon. So the new moon is going to be, the next new moon is going to be July 23rd, man. Which is a week from now. All right. And that's basically how you calculate the new moon on your own, Whenever the new moon comes in, you count 7 days after that new moon to basically, first off, how you know when the Sabbath is when the new moon comes in. The same day that the new moon comes in is the Sabbath for that month. As far as counting the 7 days, you count that for the 4 weeks so that you know how to calculate when the next new moon will be. All right? So after that 4 weeks, the very next day is the new moon. So the next new moon should be on July 23rd. Before anything, I'm going to close out with Isaiah, the 66th chapter. All right. And I hope that was clear enough for y'all. I hope I explained that well. I know it could be new since you're probably not used to that. I know you're probably used to keeping the Sabbath Friday evening to Saturday evening, but that's wrong and it's false, man. So I hope I explained that thoroughly. And if not, I'll just make another video about it or a shorter video about it. But this is Isaiah 66 and 23. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another and from one Sabbath to another. You see, there's a comparison. It's not the same day. 2 different high holy days. It is not the same day, but they're likened unto each other. You keep it the same exact way, same rules, And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another and from one Sabbath to another shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith the Lord. And it's just that simple. All flesh shall come to worship before the Most High God, man. And of course, that is Israelite flesh, all right? Because that's the only people the Most High God is dealing with. I have to always make that clear, since you got a lot of people that like to twist the scriptures to fit their own agenda. But yeah, man, that's the video. The new moon, the Sabbath is not Friday evening to Saturday evening. Okay, it is not. That is false. The Sabbath is basically determined on the changing of the moon. All right, and when the new moon comes in, that is the new day for the Sabbath. If the new moon comes in on a Wednesday, that means that the Sabbath is now Wednesday evening to Thursday evening. If the new moon comes in on a Sunday, that means that the Sabbath is Sunday evening to Monday evening. If the new moon comes in on a Thursday, that means that the Sabbath is Thursday evening to Friday evening. All right, and it is just that simple, man. And you gotta remember that. And when you counting, all right, when you counting the 7 days, after the fourth week, the very next day is the new moon for the new month. And I hope I explained that clearly, and I hope you are able to receive it. And like I said, if not, I'll just make another video or a shorter video, But all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, for allowing me to make this very video, man. And with that, I'm going to say, Shalom.